A couple of months ago, I made a video called The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of One Piece. Now this time, it is The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of Fairy Tail. I figured out about it, and I loved it. Okay, so how did I figure out about Fairy Tail? It was when Ultimate Ninja Storm 2, the trailer came out. I'm like, oh my god, I get to play as Suigetsu, I get to play as Karen, I get to play as all of them. I'm like, what the fuck? I get to play as Kakuzu, I get to play as Sasori. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And the trailer for the video had the opening of Fairy Tail. I'm like, oh, this is a cool Japanese song. What is this? So I look at the description, it's like Snow Fairy from Funkiss. So I look up the song, and it's like from the anime Fairy Tail. And I look at that, I'm like, oh my god, these are cool graphics and stuff like that. So I check out Fairy Tail, right? I start watching every single episode from day one. The reason why I was infatuated with Fairy Tail was it had something that kept me intrigued. A lot of people compare Fairy Tail to One Piece. That couldn't be any more different. That couldn't be any more spread apart. They are two completely different animes. One thing I will say, what drew my attention was Happy. I'm like, okay, this guy has a sidekick named Happy that kind of looks like Chopper. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So, yeah, so I recommended it to my older brother, and the first thing I told him was, it's a pretty cool anime, it has a dope soundtrack. Here's the thing, I fucking love Fairy Tail. The opening, I used to love every single time. I used to bang that constantly, Snow Fairy, Snow Fairy, Snow Fairy, but it got even better. So, the first thing I noticed, I'm like, okay, this is cool. Natsu's alright. Lucy is sexy. And that's the very first thing I noticed was Lucy was cool. I kind of like how they had rage problems. I loved how they had to do jobs even though they had superpowers. The second thing I liked was when I found Gray. I'm like, okay, Gray's alright. He's cool. He's different than Natsu. Because I looked at Gray's backstory. I'm like, dude, that's sad. He had his mom being destroyed in front of his face. I'm like, that's kind of sad. I love the fight between him and Leon. And I thought that was literally one of the coldest shit I've ever seen. But really, what really drove me into Fairy Tail was the main character. In my opinion, I thought this was the main character. Should have been the main character was Erza. I didn't have a favorite character in Fairy Tail until Erza popped up. Erza was my favorite fucking character in Fairy Tail. One, because I loved how her name looked. I loved her power. I kept on doing this debate. Who would win a fight? Tintin or Erza? Literally, so much. I loved how their powers were so fucking similar. I loved Fairy Tail when I was going to my sophomore year in high school. I figured out about it the summer of my freshman year. Once I realized that a female is dogging the main protagonist of an anime, I fell in love. Like, when do you ever see the females whooping the guys' asses in anime? Arizona was dominating both of them. And it wasn't like they were thirsty over them either. It was the exact opposite of Naruto and Sasuke. Couldn't get enough of Arizona. Couldn't get enough of her backstory. I felt like out of all three of them, she had the best backstory. Gray's fight with Leon was arguably one of the best hand-to-hand combat fight scenes in anime I've seen so far. And what drove me in after I got to know the main cast was the Phantom Lord arc. But before that, rewind that a little bit, I had to think about it. Why? Why is every opening slap? You know, I love the music of Fairy Tail. I love Makarov. I love Kana, how she was always drinking. I love how the cast in Elfman was cool. So after Gray and Leon's arc, when we get to the Phantom Lord arc, I take a little break from Fairy Tail. I start telling my brother about it. I'm like, dude, you have to watch Fairy Tail. It's so fucking cool. And simultaneously, I reunite with an old friend from junior high, and he's talking about Fairy Tail being corny. I'm like, what? What? And he's trying to school me saying that Fairy Tail came from Wave Master. I'm like, that main reason why I kept on viewing it and why I kept on being infatuated with it was just, so the characters really drove me in. I loved Happy. So when I recommended it to my brother, he's like, this is the show you recommended me? I'm like, yeah, that's my nigga Happy. I fucking loved Gray's power. How he used ice and how Natsu used fire drove me in. So instantly I loved how they were both opposites. But I also loved the dynamic with Lucy and how she couldn't fight like the other guys, but she literally held her rate, and that's one of the aspects of the anime that got me very far. Now, finally, on to the Phantom Lord arc. This was one of my favorite starter packs of any anime arc thus far because this literally separated Fairy Tail from any other anime that was going on at the time because the action in that was top notch. 10 out of 10. I loved it. And what happened was this. Because of Lucy's dynamic with her father, that story is so deep. She's a spoiled brat, but she doesn't want to be a spoiled brat. And her father is literally hiring a bunch of gangsters to come out to go steal her from a guild that appreciates her for who she is. She may not have as much power in that position, but I loved how they protected Lucy. I loved the Phantom Lord arc. How it built up. How Gajeel was literally killing shit. Gajeel, after him being introduced, literally, I love Gajeel's character design. Very similar to how I love Natsu. Now, let me go back to a little bit before I go on to my favorite character. Natsu, what drove me into Fairy Tail above everything was Natsu's outfit. He reminded me of Gogeta. The way he wore the fusion vest instantaneously got me into the anime. Like, instantly, I was already hooked. It didn't matter. But I love Gajeel. He reminded me of Raditz, and that's another thing I loved about his character design. I couldn't get enough of his long ass hair. And another thing that I love is like, oh, he has the spikes like pain. Oh my god, I love Gajeel the Ill. He is my favorite. Gajeel is my favorite fucking badass character in anime damn near. When it comes to arrogance, when it comes to cockiness, when it comes to everything, I love Gajeel. It's kind of funny. I love how Natsu has Gray as a rival, but I love how he also has Gajeel as a rival. Not only does he have a Sasuke, but he has a Vegeta. Really, how Natsu rose through the tears and how they immobilized Makarov first thing. Like, ooh, they killed Makarov the very first thing? Oh my god, that arc was so intense and how Erza fall off that big ass machine. I loved the Phantom Lord arc. Now, when they really start upping the stakes, I didn't like Gray at all. So, when Gray finally got to fight Juvia, I'm like, holy crap, this anime is getting sick. Her character design is way too fucking cool. And I loved it. Literally, Gajeel and Natsu doing that hand-to-hand combat was so fucking nice. So fucking terror that it was literally outstanding everything in that opening. So please don't play. My brother kept on making fun of me because the first opening was fire and undeniable, you know? But the second opening, so Sanika turns together go, but little brother is a faggot. He started making fun of me. He's like, this is my little brother's favorite song. But you know, But no, yeah, I watched the Phantom Lord arc twice. Once with me and two with my brother. I'm like, dude, you have to watch Fairy Tail. It's really getting nice. So when me and him watched Fairy Tail, that arc came up and we got to see everything together. We got to see Natsu versus Gajeel again. We got to see Makarov versus Jose again. Literally colliding, and I loved it. And he's all like, "She likes Gray?" Look, Fairy Tail was my shit. I was really promoting Fairy Tail. Even the hood niggas I was able to deliver Fairy Tail because of how much I liked it. There was this time where I was thinking about what one of my friends I made a previous character video, and it was so fucking cool. And I was all like, hey, bro, I gotta watch Fairy Tail when I get home. And this hood nigga is like, what's Fairy Tail? He didn't ask me, oh, you're a faggot for saying Fairy Tail. He's literally like, what's Fairy Tail? I was so surprised that was his reaction because he already knew me for watching Dragon Ball Z and shit. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, this is the Magical RZA show. This is one girl who shoots out hella swords and shit like that. Yeah, hella fucking funny. Yeah, so he's all like, huh. I was so surprised because I thought he was going to literally call me a faggot, but he's like, yo, what's Fairy Tail? If he's saying that with that much confidence, he has to like Fairy Tail. It has to be a good show, literally. Contrary to my other friend's belief, he said that Natsu was gay because he had pink hair. I'm like, are you kidding me? That is the color of pussy. He's like, he's all like, Fistfield No Star is better. JoJo is better. Fairy Tail isn't manly enough. I'm like, Fairy Tail has fucking slavery, salary problems. Even though they have superpowers, they still have to work. What the fuck, man? And that continuously like, Rave Master is better. Rave Master is better. Rave Master is better. I'm like, fuck out of here. Fairy Tail is shit. I loved fucking Fairy Tail. After the Phantom Lord arc, I flipped. I'm like, we already have Natsu. So what? Another thing that kept me locked in was fucking Loki. Oh my god, Loki. How we figured out that he was a Zodiac was so fucking fire. And Loki, I loved how he can mac on Lucy. I love how he can be an asshole, how he can get slapped and he's still in denial. I know. I love Loki. He was a top class player. Literally, his arc was so cool. But when we got to the Tower of Heaven arc, I flipped. Because it went from being the faggot opening to a reggae opening. I'm like, what? That's never been done before. How the fuck does this guy Jalal get his own opening and the only Japanese song I know were reggae fucking acoustics? I flipped me the fuck out. Jalal was literally becoming one of my favorite characters. I'm like, it's wherever I see a guy, anime guy with blue hair that has swag, with the coat and everything, with the tattoo on his face. Oh my god, I love Jalal. And the backstory with how he used to be a slave with Erza on an island, and literally how he became evil was so fucking good. I loved it. It was my favorite, literally. And another thing I loved about Jalal was back when I was a big weeaboo, I used to listen to Erza in Japanese. He's like, GL, GL. I used to pronounce it like GL, but it used to sound like someone was spinning some MTV shit. GL, GL. But my brother kept on correcting me about reading this. He's like, dude, his name's Jalal. And so I love Jalal's arc. And how the opening coming, how I'm like, oh, Juvia is still here? Yes, yes. How she's fighting on our side now was tremendous. I fucking loved it. You know, and what I loved even more was when Natsu fought Jalal and how we thought Erza died. Oh my fucking god. Like, my favorite character is dying, you know? But anyway, because I thought that Gaji was only there for a cameo, once the Tower of Heaven arc ended, we get back to the Laxus arc. Gaji becomes the main character. I'm like, oh my god. And that, then and there, is when he became my favorite character in Fairy Tail. So let me get this straight. Now that we got all that information out the way, my favorite male character in Fairy Tail is Gajil, and my favorite female character in Fairy Tail is Juvia. Really drove me so far. I love the Laxus arc. I love how Natsu kept on trying to fight Laxus. He couldn't do shit, but when it mattered the most, when he attacked the whole entire village, like, Natsu stood up to him and he killed it. I love how Fairy Tail had all these references to Dragon Ball Z. How Laxus and Natsu and Gaji were squaring up. How Natsu was fighting alongside Laxus. It looked just like Piccolo and Goku versus Raditz. And that's exactly what went on in my mind over and over and over again. And I'm like, oh my god, that shit was sick. I love the head-to-head fight scenes in Fairy Tail. I love how Erza was a strong supporting factor. I love the fact that when shit went down, shit went down. Another thing I like about Fairy Tail, it doesn't take long to get to the action. It has tons of comedy, but it doesn't sugarcoat shit when it comes to action. First arc, action wire race. Second arc, this anime became one of my favorites. It was definitely one of my favorites, and I called it the Big Four. It was Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, and then Fairy Tail. So sophomore year in high school comes, and the Rosio Saints arc begins, and I'm like, oh, this opening's okay. All the other openings were better, but this can do, it kind of makes me feel good inside, but, you know, the only thing that kept me through that arc was Midnight. Midnight was so nasty. I loved Midnight. He reminded me straight of Frieza. Literally dominating fucking Jalal, dominating Erza, dominating every fucking guild that's ever been created. I loved Midnight, so fuck that, fuck Brain. It was all about Midnight, and once he lost, I didn't care about that arc. Going on to the next arc, which is Etelos. I loved Etelos. My favorite part about Etelos was the Fat Gray. Also, you know, how Natsu can drive, but how the other Natsu cannot. How Juvia is so fucking masculine versus the one in real life. And the best part about my favorite Edo character is Edo Wendy. I want to bang Edo Wendy. I don't care what anyone has to say. Edo Wendy can get it over any character. Edo Wendy and Juvia are tied. Like, Edo Wendy a little bit up there, but yeah. I love Edo Wendy. I love that. Okay, so anyway, another great thing I loved about Etelos was the fact that it was kind of like an isekai, and I loved it. I loved it, and I fucking was infatuated with the Ixie. I kept on schooling my brother. I'm like, catch up to Fairy Tail. And he's like, okay, alright, I'm like, I'll watch it. So he got to watch it. And so I schooled through my test, and I'm like, what is Ixie? I loved Fairy Tail. Everything that drove me crazy. It literally made me survive high school. I was getting rejected by girls in school, but I got to look at the masculine girls like Juvia, Erza, Lisana. It didn't give a fuck about the popular girls rejecting me in high school because I had Fairy Tail to fall back on. I loved how the girls in Fairy Tail had better personalities than the girls in high school, and it kept me at bay. Yeah, I may have not been fucking, but I still had to look at Julia's big ass titties on screen, and I loved it. I was a big fan of when Happy stood up to protect Carla. That was one of my favorite scenes. This little plushie is standing up for this Exceed, basically. And the best part about Edelos is Godzilla finally got a cat. And another great part about Edelos is his other half has an afro. I loved it. Like, how could you resist Fairy Tail? I got it. Yes. And we go on to the Tenro Island arc. Oh, my very first thing happened, and my mom gets me a bag of baked chicken, barbecue baked chicken, and literally I got to get high, and the first thing I watched was Ozma versus Mary Jane. At least on, I'm like, dude, this is some good ass chicken. Oh my god, there's this black guy in Fairy Tail. Even Lily can't stand up to this guy. I loved the intensity of Tenro Island like no other. I was like, okay, so junior year starts and automatically Fairy Tail is killing shit? Oh my god! Literally, I was high as fuck looking at this guy with dreads. I'm like, oh my god. There can be no better timing than this right now. I loved Asuma. That was my favorite fucking villain in Fairy Tail. Asuma was my shit. Okay, so literally, Tenro Island comes along. It was so fucking cringy. I still had to deal with peer pressure in school. I still had to deal with getting rejected in school. I still had to do everything. But the ending of Fairy Tail saved my life. That high fat cup. I started singing Weed when I was in history class because of how good the ending was. Even though I didn't get a girl, that kept me at bay. Fight scenes in Tenro Island. Fucking A+. Fucking A+. And here's a fun fact. Every single episode of the Tenro Island arc I watched high. There was not one episode of that arc I did not watch high. It was so fucking funny. And another great highlight about that arc was Godzilla being able to split an island in half. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I was already making versus battles back when I was in high school. I'm like, okay, this is how I know Fairy Tail's a contender. This nigga split an island in half. But another great intense part about that arc was when Ulter captures Zeref, and a lot about how Ulter and how U are connected. So fucking good. Greg vs. Ulter, another top to 10. But another great fight that I watched twice was Juvia versus Meredy. I love that. Oh my god, of me and Fairy Tail Junior. I just could not get enough. So that rolls by, and so after that, I couldn't rely on Fairy Tail because it goes into a little filler stage back when Laxus joins the Tenro Island, and back when they have a time skip. I can't watch it no more, so that's when I got back on One Piece. That's when I started watching, Ace's capture all the way to Marineford War, while Fairy Tail was on hiatus. And so One Piece and Fairy Tail saved my life junior year. I would not be here if it wasn't for the Stratomics. I'm not exaggerating here, because those two kept me at bay when I was going through shit in school, and I loved Fairy Tail to the most extent, but I couldn't rely on it forever, But what pissed me off even more was that when they discontinued the anime on the hiatus, I literally had nothing else to fall back on. I started going crazy, because I missed my favorite. I even told my mom, and my mom, I know my mom was like anime, but she's like, sweetheart, what's wrong? I'm like, one of my favorite shows that I've been dedicated ever since I was a sophomore in high school just ended. I put a lot of effort into that show. And even my mom looked at me, she's like, oh. It's the same way how that hood nigga felt the same way about when I explained Fairy Tail to him. It's the same fucking way my mom felt, and she understood completely. And that's one thing I realized. That's when I knew I had delivery. That's when I knew I was eloquent. That's when I knew I was great at literature. And I love Fairy Tail because it taught me everything about myself that I couldn't express in everything I felt about this world. And I loved Fairy Tail. So that arc goes by, and so this is when the fall comes in. The fall comes in when the anime starts back up and they change the graphics. I'm like, what the fuck is this? There's no hand-to-hand combat. There's no beam blasts. There's nothing I loved about the Grand Magic games before. And the fact that they changed the graphics are even more fucking ass. Even more fucking dumb. And I didn't like it. I didn't like Fairy Tail. The only thing I liked is when Rogue tried to test Godzilla. You're not as strong as Natsu Dragon Eel. And then Godzilla literally said, nigga, what? And kicked him out of the fucking stadium. I loved fucking Fairy Tail. I was such a weeb. Yes, I can say it. Fairy Tail, Madoshi. Yes, I can do that. I loved it. Even my junior year, if you look on Facebook, I had a tattoo on my hand that I had of the Fairy Tail emblem. I loved Fairy Tail. I drew it myself, by the way. And yes, I loved Fairy Tail. And I could not get enough of it at the time, but that hiatus just pissed me off. I'm like, why am I continuing Fairy Tail? The openings aren't as good, the graphics aren't as good, the fight scenes aren't as good, the dialogue is half-assed. All that shit was leading up until the last arc, which happened last year. That is when I got back into Fairy Tail. And that was the best time. When everyone was off that time skip, and when Natsu came back and Bayou Blue Note, is when I got back into Fairy Tail, and that is why I loved it. It reminded me everything of why I loved it, and why that last arc when everything tied in together, where Zeref got that white form with that one opening that made you want to dance, and I loved it. And that is when I got back into Fairy Tail. So that was the rise and fall and rise again of Fairy Tail. This is Mood Tricks, and I'm out.